Before sketch comedy became polished and predictable, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In was pure television chaos. Fast jokes, wild costumes, catchphrases, political satire, and stars popping in before you could blink. But after the laughter faded, many cast members faced a much sadder reality. Fame changed, careers disappeared, and some beloved faces were lost in heartbreaking ways. In 2026, we look back at what really happened to them. Host Dan Rowan was 45 when he helped turn Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In into one of television's loudest, fastest, strangest comedy explosions. As the straighter half of the duo, Rowan gave the show a cool, dry center, while everything around him flashed, shouted, danced, and crashed into another punchline. He looked calm, but he was steering chaos. Rowan had spent years working clubs and television with Dick Martin before Laugh-In made them household names. His style was not about stealing every joke. It was about setting the rhythm, tossing a line, raising an eyebrow, and letting the madness bounce off him. In a show full of go-go dancers, blackout sketches, and political jabs, that control mattered. Dan Rowan passed away in 1987 at the age of 65 after lymphatic cancer. What still makes him interesting to modern viewers is how smoothly he held together a show that felt like channel surfing before channel surfing existed. Sharp, messy, topical, and very much alive. Host Dick Martin was 45 when he became the goofy, loose, slightly clueless half of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Where Rowan played it dry, Martin leaned into the grin, the pause, and the beautifully dumb reaction. He made the show feel less like a formal variety program and more like a party where the jokes kept interrupting each other. Martin's comic gift was timing that looked careless but was not. He could toss away a line, stare blankly, or act like he had just wandered into the wrong sketch, and somehow that became the joke. After Laugh-In, he kept working as an actor and director, especially in television comedy, carrying that relaxed showbiz confidence behind the camera too. He passed away in 2008 at the age of 86 after respiratory complications. His appeal now is easy to understand. In a show built on speed, noise, and surprise, Martin gave viewers permission to laugh at the silliness of it all, even when the world outside the studio was anything but calm. Announcer Gary Owens was 33 when his deep, polished voice became one of Laugh-In's funniest weapons. With one hand cupped dramatically over his ear, he sounded like a serious radio man reporting from the middle of total nonsense. That contrast made him perfect for the show, smooth, official, and completely ridiculous at the same time. Owens had the kind of voice that could make almost anything sound important, which is why he worked so well in radio, cartoons, commercials, and comedy. On Laugh-In, he was not just reading lines, he was part of the machinery. His announcer voice gave the fast-moving sketches a fake sense of order before the next joke blew it up. Gary Owens died in 2015 at the age of 80 after complications from diabetes. For modern viewers, his legacy is that golden announcer sound turned upside down. The voice of authority, happily trapped inside one of television's most unserious comedy revolutions. Big Al was played by Alan Suze at the age of 42. He was one of Laugh-In's loudest comic blasts. Bright, theatrical, and impossible to miss. With his oversized energy and slightly unhinged showbiz sparkle, Big Al felt like he had walked in from a nightclub act and landed straight inside 60s television madness. Alan Suze had worked on stage, television, and comedy long before and after Laugh-In, with a career that included Broadway, guest roles, voice work, and children's television. He later became familiar to younger viewers through appearances connected to Sesame Street and other family programming, showing a softer side beyond the wild sketch comedy image. Alan Suze died in 2011 at the age of 85 after a heart attack. Big Al remains the role many fans remember first, but Sue's larger appeal was his fearless comic personality. Loud, colorful, theatrical, and proudly strange in a way that still feels ahead of its time. Wolfgang was played by Arte Johnson at the age of 38. The strange little German soldier peeking from behind plants, watching the chaos, and dropping that famous, very interesting, with perfect comic timing. It was a tiny bit, but on Laugh-In, tiny bits could become national catchphrases overnight. Arte Johnson's career stretched well beyond Wolfgang. He appeared in films, sitcoms, game shows, voice roles, and stage work, moving easily between quick sketch comedy and broader character acting. Later audiences heard him in animation and saw him in guest appearances that proved he was more than one accent, one helmet, or one punchline. He passed away in 2019 at the age of 90 after heart failure. Wolfgang is still his most quoted creation, but Johnson's real legacy is the precision behind the silliness. A performer who could turn a few seconds, a costume, and one odd little voice into television history. The poet was played by Henry Gibson at the age of 31. He would step into the frame with flowers, a soft little voice, and a poem that sounded innocent until the joke quietly slipped out. In the middle of Laugh-In's noise and go-go chaos, his tiny, polite delivery made the weirdness even funnier. Henry Gibson built a career far beyond those short poems. He appeared in films like Nashville, The Blues Brothers, and The Long Goodbye, and later kept showing up in television, comedy, and voice work. His gift was that calm, slightly odd presence, the kind of performer who could seem harmless for 10 seconds, then make the whole scene tilt sideways. He passed away in 2009 at the age of 73 after cancer. The poet remains one of those perfect Laugh-In creations, brief, strange, and instantly recognizable. Modern viewers may come for the catchphrases, but Gibson reminds them how much of the show's comedy lived in tiny details and unexpected timing. Regular performer Byron Gilliam was 27 when he became part of Laugh-In's fast-cut comedy machine. On a show where sketches could last only a few seconds, every performer had to jump in with energy, sell the bit quickly, and disappear before the next joke hit. Gilliam belonged to that wild ensemble rhythm. Gilliam did not become one of the most famous names from the cast, but Laugh-In was built on more than its biggest stars. It needed performers who could handle quick characters, physical bits, background madness, and sudden punchlines without slowing down the pace. His work fits into that larger comedy engine that made the show feel unpredictable. Byron Gilliam died in 1990 at the age of 50, with no widely reported cause of death. His story is one of the quieter Laugh-In stories, not a headline name, but part of the crowd that helped make the show feel like a televised explosion of jokes, costumes, signs, music, and 60s attitude. Edith Ann was played by Lily Tomlin at the age of 30. Sitting in that oversized rocking chair, Edith Ann was a little girl with a sharp mind, a blunt mouth, and the final stamp of, "And that's the truth." She was childish, but never empty. Tomlin made her feel funny, strange, and weirdly honest. Lily Tomlin turned Laugh-In into a launch pad, but she never stayed trapped inside one character. Her career grew through stand-up, albums, Broadway, films, dramatic roles, voice work, and later television hits like Grace and Frankie. She became one of America's most respected comic performers because she could be ridiculous, political, warm, and painfully human. Now 87, Lily Tomlin remains one of the rare Laugh-In stars whose career kept evolving for decades. Edith Ann is still remembered because she captured something audiences love: a child's voice saying things adults were too polite to admit, wrapped in one of the strangest visual jokes 60s TV ever gave us. Regular performer Dennis Allen was 30 when he joined the wild rhythm of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. In a show built from quick cuts, surprise lines, blackout sketches, and visual jokes, performers had to move fast and commit fully. Allen was part of that ensemble energy that made every episode feel like it might fly off the rails. Dennis Allen's career stayed mostly inside television comedy and variety, where timing mattered more than long speeches. He appeared on Laugh-In during the years when the show was rewriting what a comedy program could look like, then continued working in entertainment without becoming one of its louder celebrity names. His story fits the working performer side of TV history. Dennis Allen passed away in 1995 at the age of 55, with no widely reported cause of death. His legacy is quieter than the show's catchphrase stars, but still real. He helped power the background madness, the quick entrances, and the blink-and-you-miss-it humor that made Laugh-In feel so different. Regular performer Anne Worley was 30 when she brought her huge voice, giant expressions, and fearless Broadway-style comedy into Laugh-In. She was not built for subtle background work. She entered like a human exclamation point. In a show already full of noise, Worley somehow found a way to be even louder in the best possible way. Anne Worley's career stretched across stage, television, voice acting, game shows, and live performance. After Laugh-In, she kept working in comedy and musical theater, and her voice later reached new audiences through animation, including Beauty and the Beast. She carried that same big theatrical personality wherever she went. As of 2026, at 89, Anne Worley remains one of the show's most recognizable surviving personalities. Fans remember her because she feels like pure variety television, bold, bright, expressive, and completely unafraid to make the room bigger the second she walks in. Sock It to Me girl Judy Carne was 28 when she became one of Laugh-In's most unforgettable running jokes. With one little phrase, she could trigger water, trapdoors, hits, shocks, or some new humiliation, turning herself into the show's favorite human punchline. It was silly, fast, and perfectly built for 60s TV repetition. Judy Carne's life after Laugh-In was much harder than the bright sketch comedy image suggested. She had early success in British and American television, but later struggled with addiction, legal troubles, and personal setbacks that pulled her away from steady stardom. Her story became one of the sadder contrasts between TV fame and real life. Judy Carne died in 2015 at the age of 76 after pneumonia. Her Sock It to Me image remains frozen in pop culture. Funny, chaotic, and instantly recognizable. But modern viewers may also see the person behind the gag, a performer whose fame came fast and whose life afterward was far more complicated. Regular performer Johnny Brown was 33 when he joined Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. He brought music, timing, and a smooth comic presence into a show that loved sudden shifts. 1 second political joke, next second song, next second a blackout gag. Brown fit that rhythm because he could be funny without looking like he was forcing the laugh. Johnny Brown's career reached far beyond Laugh-In. He performed on stage, appeared on variety shows, and became best known to many viewers as Nathan Bookman on Good Times. That role gave him a completely different kind of fame: sitcom warmth, neighborhood humor, and a character fans could recognize the moment he walked in. He passed away in 2022 at the age of 84. His legacy is split across two powerful corners of television: the fast, colorful chaos of Laugh-In and the grounded apartment-building comedy of Good Times. He gave both shows a performer's ease that felt musical, human, and instantly likable. Sarah the Swinger was played by Barbara Sharma at the age of 31. She was one of those Laugh-In characters who captured the show's obsession with 60s style, dating jokes, youth culture, and anything that felt slightly outrageous on network TV. Sarah had that playful, wink-at-the-camera energy the show used so well. Barbara Sharma's career moved through comedy, television, writing, and performance, with appearances on sitcoms and variety shows beyond Laugh-In. She also worked as a writer, which matters because performers from that era often had to create their own comic identity, not just wait for a perfect role to arrive. Now 88, Barbara Sharma remains one of the surviving faces from the show's wild ensemble years. Sarah the Swinger feels like a little time capsule of late 60s TV, playful, dated in the funniest way, and full of the kind of cheeky energy that made Laugh-In feel young, fast, and slightly dangerous. Regular performer Ann Elder was 27 when she became part of Laugh-In's rapid-fire sketch world. The show did not give performers much time to warm up. They had to enter, hit the joke, and vanish into the next burst of music, signs, dancing, or political nonsense. Elder fit that fast variety pace with sharp comic confidence. Ann Elder built a career not only as a performer but also as a writer, which gave her a different kind of comedy footprint. She worked in television writing and appeared in shows during an era when women in comedy still had to fight harder for space. That behind-the-scenes side makes her story more interesting than just another cast listing. Today, at 84, Ann Elder stands as one of the women who helped give Laugh-In its quick, clever, slightly rebellious edge. For modern viewers, her appeal is not only nostalgia, it is seeing a performer-writer inside a show that helped crack open television comedy's old format. The Vicar was played by Richard Dawson at the age of 35. On Laugh-In, he brought a polished British flavor into the show's American psychedelic circus. Dry, sharp, and slightly wicked around the edges. His comedy had a different rhythm from the shouting, signs, and quick cuts around him, which made him stand out even more. Richard Dawson's fame grew far beyond Laugh-In. He was already known from Hogan's Heroes, then later became a major game show personality as the charming, kiss-happy host of Family Feud. That role turned him into a familiar face in American living rooms, where his mix of confidence, flirtation, and quick wit became his signature. Richard Dawson died in 2012 at the age of 79 after esophageal cancer. The Vicar is only one piece of his story, but modern viewers know Dawson as a performer who crossed comedy, sitcoms, and game shows, always with that sly smile that made him feel like he knew the punchline first. Regular performer Muzi Dreyer was 7 when he appeared on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. As a child inside that fast, adult, joke-packed world, he added a different kind of surprise to the show. Laugh-In loved anything unexpected, and a kid popping into its comedy chaos made the whole thing feel even stranger. Muzi Dreyer went on to build a long career in television and voice acting, appearing in sitcoms, dramas, commercials, and animated projects. Unlike many child performers who disappear after one early credit, he kept working behind microphones and cameras, becoming part of the larger world of American TV character work. Currently at 62, Muzi Dreyer gives fans a funny contrast to remember. He was once the kid face inside one of television's most grown-up comedy explosions. His Laugh-In appearances are small, but they show how wide the show's madness could stretch, from political jokes and nightclub comics to a 7-year-old in the middle of it all. The Senator was played by Larry Hovis at the age of 31. He fit perfectly into Laugh-In's habit of poking at politics, authority, and the people who acted too important on television. The Senator could be smooth, silly, or completely empty-headed, which made him feel right at home in a show that loved turning public seriousness into a joke. Larry Hovis was already familiar to many viewers from Hogan's Heroes, where he played Sergeant Carter. Beyond acting, he also worked as a singer, writer, producer, and teacher, giving his career a wider shape than one sitcom or sketch role. He later spent years in education, sharing performance knowledge with younger artists. Larry Hovis passed away in 2003 at the age of 67 after cancer. The Senator remains a small but fitting part of his comedy life, a reminder that Laugh-In could take a serious-looking title, strip away the dignity, and turn it into another quick hit of television satire. Regular performer Teresa Graves was 21 when she appeared on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. She brought youthful sparkle, music, and a cool screen presence into a show that was already bursting with color, noise, and 60s attitude. On Laugh-In, performers had to make an impression fast, and Graves had the kind of camera confidence that did not need pushing. Teresa Graves later made television history with Get Christy Love, becoming one of the first black women to lead an American TV drama. That role turned her into a symbol of style, strength, and 70s screen confidence. She eventually stepped away from acting and lived a quieter religious life, which made her Hollywood story feel unusually sharp and unexpected. Teresa Graves passed away in 2002 at the age of 54 in a house fire. Her laugh-in work shows the bright beginning, but what modern viewers often notice is the bigger arc. A performer who moved from sketch comedy to trailblazing TV lead, then chose a life far away from the spotlight. Regular performer Dave Madden was 36 when he became part of Laugh-In's quick-hit comedy world. He had the dry face and slightly cranky timing that worked well inside a show where jokes flew by before anyone could get too comfortable. Madden could make irritation funny, which was a useful gift in all that televised madness. Dave Madden became much better known after Laugh-In as Reuben Kincaid on The Partridge Family. That role gave him a perfect sitcom lane, the long-suffering manager surrounded by kids, music, and chaos. He later kept working in television, but Reuben became the character most viewers carried with them. Dave Madden passed away in 2014 at the age of 82 after complications from myelodysplastic syndrome. His Laugh-In chapter was only one stop, but fans still enjoy seeing the early shape of a comic actor who would later turn frustration, sarcasm, and patience into a classic sitcom personality. Regular performer Pamela Rogers was 26 when she joined the visual pop art rush of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. The show loved bright faces, quick dances, sudden cutaways, and performers who could match its flirty, fast-moving energy. Rogers fit that late 60s screen style, where attitude could matter as much as dialogue. Pamela Rogers continued working in film and television after Laugh-In, including roles that leaned into the era's glamour, youth culture, and more adult-edged screen image. Like many performers from that world, her career was tied to a moment when television and film were testing new boundaries of style, sex appeal, and comedy. As of now, at 83, Pamela Rogers remains one of the surviving names from Laugh-In's colorful ensemble. Her appeal for today's viewers is partly the time capsule effect. She represents that exact late 60s mix of go-go confidence, TV experimentation, and the playful boldness that made the show feel so different. Regular performer Chelsea Brown was 25 when she joined Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. She brought style, warmth, and a bright comic presence into a show that moved like a stack of jokes thrown into a blender. In that fast-cut world, Brown helped add another spark to the ensemble's colorful 60s energy. Chelsea Brown's career later moved beyond American sketch comedy. She worked in television, film, and stage performance, and eventually became especially familiar to Australian audiences through shows like Number 96 and E Street. Her path was different from many Laugh-In performers, because her career found a second home far from Hollywood. Chelsea Brown passed away in 2017 at the age of 74 after pneumonia. Her Laugh-In chapter remains part of the show's pop art comedy rush, but her larger story is about a performer who crossed markets, found new audiences overseas, and kept building a screen life beyond one famous American variety show. Regular performer Nancy Phillips was 33 when she appeared on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. She was part of the show's loud, quick, crowded comedy rhythm, where every face had to jump into the madness and keep the pace alive. The show felt like a party, a protest sign, and a nightclub sketch all happening at once. Nancy Phillips did not become one of the biggest celebrity names from the cast, but performers like her mattered to the show's texture. Laugh-In needed a whole moving crowd, singers, comics, dancers, guest players, and sketch performers who could fill the screen with motion before the next joke arrived. Nancy Phillips passed away in 2012 at the age of 74, with no widely reported cause of death. Her legacy is one of the quieter ensemble stories. Not a single catchphrase, but a place inside the wild group energy that made Laugh-In feel so alive, fast, and impossible to predict. Regular performer Patty Deutsch was 28 when she became part of Laugh-In's strange comedy universe. Her offbeat face, sharp timing, and slightly oddball delivery fit a show that did not want polished variety show perfection. It wanted surprise, weirdness, and performers who could make a tiny moment feel wonderfully crooked. Patty Deutsch later became a familiar voice and comedy presence across game shows, animation, and television. She was especially memorable on Match Game, where her dry, quirky humor worked perfectly with the loose celebrity panel style of the 70s. Her career showed how strong a comic personality could travel across formats. Patty Deutsch passed away in 2017 at the age of 73 after cancer. Her laugh-in work is one part of a larger comedy footprint, but modern viewers may recognize the same thing everywhere she appeared. A wonderfully unusual performer who made awkwardness, timing, and odd little reactions feel like their own art form. Regular performer Sarah Kennedy was 24 when she joined Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. She came into a show that treated comedy like a rapid-fire collage. Jokes, signs, music, dancing, politics, and nonsense all smashing together before the audience could settle down. In that world, a performer had to be quick, bright, and ready for anything. Sarah Kennedy later continued working in television and comedy, including appearances on sitcoms, variety programs, and talk show-style entertainment. Like many laugh-in performers, she belonged to an era when television rewarded people who could jump between sketch work, guest spots, and personality-driven comedy without needing one fixed lane. Now 78, Sarah Kennedy remains part of the show's surviving ensemble story. Her laugh-in presence reflects the freewheeling spirit of late 60s TV, a time when young performers could step into a flashing wall of jokes and become part of something that felt less like a normal show and more like a cultural happening. Gladys Ormsby was played by Ruth Buzzi at the age of 31. With her hairnet, handbag, sour stare, and sudden attacks, Gladys became one of Laugh-In's most unforgettable creations. She looked like a quiet little old lady until the joke turned, and then that purse could become a weapon of perfect comic revenge. Ruth Buzzi built a long career across sketch comedy, children's television, voice acting, game shows, and live appearances. She could be sweet, strange, physical, or completely ridiculous, which made her one of the show's most flexible performers. Gladys was her signature, but her career stretched far beyond one hairnet and one angry handbag. Ruth Buzzi passed away in 2025 at the age of 88 after complications from Alzheimer's disease. For today's viewers, Gladys still lands because the image is so simple and funny. A tiny, cranky woman quietly waiting for the perfect moment to smack arrogance right out of the room. Regular performer Goldie Hawn was 22 when Laugh-In turned her into one of the show's breakout faces. With her giggle, painted body slogans, dance breaks, and sunny confusion, she captured the young, silly, go-go spirit of the late 60s. She looked like the punchline had just surprised her too, and audiences loved it. Goldie Hawn used Laugh-In as a launch pad into major movie stardom. She won an Oscar for Cactus Flower, then built a long film career through comedies and dramas like Private Benjamin, Overboard, Death Becomes Her, and The First Wives Club. Her screen image mixed sweetness, chaos, and sharper intelligence than people first expected. At present, at 81, Goldie Hawn remains one of the biggest success stories to come out of Laugh-In. Modern viewers can look back and see the beginning of a star. Bright, playful, underestimated, and already showing the comic instinct that would carry her far beyond the joke wall. The laughter may have been quick, but the impact of Laugh-In lasted for generations. Thank you for watching. Tell us which cast member surprised you most, and subscribe for more classic TV stories.